While the world keeps its eyes glued to the physical front lines of the war in Ukraine, there's actually a secret financial crisis quietly tearing apart the Kremlin. Senior officials from Russia's finance ministry and central bank have quietly delivered a pretty stark warning to Vladimir Putin. The message is blunt: the Russian war machine is mathematically unsustainable. Leaked documents reviewed by Bloomberg reveal a bitter internal divide over the country's bleeding state budget. Finance Minister Anton Silvanov has warned the cabinet that Russia is actually on track to overspend its war budget by $28 billion this year alone. How did the Kremlin get the math so wrong? When this year's budget was drafted, Russian officials assumed the war would end after a summit in Alaska last August between Putin and US President Donald Trump. Instead of a peace dividend, the deficit for the first 4 months of the year exploded to 5.9 trillion rubles. Before we continue, if you want to understand the geopolitical signals actually moving global markets, how they affect the United States and the world, take a second to like and subscribe and check link in description for the full article from Bloomberg. Back to Russia. To stop the bleeding, the Russian finance minister Silvanov is now begging the government to freeze almost 3 trillion rubles in non-military spending. But a fierce policy war has broken out, with senior military officials actively resisting cuts and demanding billions more. They argue that slashing defense contracts would immediately crash the domestic economy. But what about the massive oil windfall from the ongoing war in Iran? Geopolitical tension pushed oil past $100 a barrel, but Russia couldn't or hasn't fully capitalized. Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian oil refineries and ports have severely disrupted a significant portion of Russian export capacity. Silvanov recently admitted that April's surplus energy revenue was practically erased by weak revenues in March. The concerns are now spilling out into the open. A repeat of 1992 post-Soviet crisis is now a worry. A senior lawmaker recently recalled the post-Soviet collapse, angrily asking, "What are we going to do about it? Print money, like in 1992 when prices were rising 30% every week." Or those who don't remember, in January 1992, the newly formed Russian government lifted Soviet-era price controls. The result was a brutal shock therapy transition that led to hyperinflation, reaching over 2,500% by the end of the year. Ordinary Russians watched their entire life savings evaporate overnight as the ruble collapsed and basic goods became impossibly expensive. The lawmaker's outburst reveals a terrifying realization: the Kremlin is possibly staring down the barrel of that exact same economic ghost. The illusion of infinite Russian resources is breaking, and the economy is now teetering on a recession. This could have immense ramifications on the Ukraine war as the months roll on. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and give us a follow.